everybody, this is John from MTGA Nexus coming at you with a quick deck tech on budget Yawgmoth list. Now, a lot of the budget stuff that we've been doing in the first couple of videos here is based off of the work of MTGA Zone from a couple years ago when Brawl was kind of getting rolling, so I want to get them full credit for things. Basically, a lot of their lists have very few rare and mythic wild cards. I'll try to point out the ones that do. I'm doing the bare bones list. I only made one adjustment to that list, and that is adding Zulapart Cutthroat over Malakir Rebirth. That does drop you to 40 basic mana sources, but does give you one more of your drain effects, which are quite important for this deck trying to win. Now, the Yawgmoth is an MH1, MH2 staple that was printed onto Arena. Basically, this is a deck that plays very well with Aristocrats style decks. Now, Aristocrat style decks are ones that play with a bunch of small creatures that have dying effects and then drain from there. And then they typically use some type of, requires fun things. Sacrifice fodder, the drain effects like Zulapart Cutthroat or Blood Artist, and then the sacrifice outlet. Well, when you're playing with Yawgmoth, you typically have the sacrifice outlet portion taken care of. But you need the other outlets. So you tend to run a bunch of things like Cursebound Witch. Whenever it dies, you draft one of the cards. It's an arena only card, but Nested Shambler, which brings another body to the table. Persistent Specimen dies, you can rebuy it. Santer Skeleton, you can rebuy it to your hand. Serrated Scorpion has a death trigger, Shambling Ghast. So a lot of your creatures have die as triggers, whether it's die, draw a card, whether it's die, something gets -1/-1, whether it's die, make a 2/2, make a 1/1. Basically, you're just getting incremental value from your things. There are very few creatures in your deck that just die and you don't get any benefit from them. Beyond that, you have a bunch of cheap interaction because you want cheap cards when you're drawing a bunch of stuff. And then, beyond that, you have decent black removal, whether it's Cut Down, Fatal Push, Bone Shards, which plays nicely with the strategy Bloodchief's Thirst. You have all these different things. Hero's Downfall. So you have a lot of Soul Transfer, which is one of the few rares in the deck. So it's basically what that deck's trying to do. You basically have a bunch of sacrificable creatures, a few drain effects like Zulapart Cutthroat, Blood Artist, if I could find it here. It's in alphabetical order, should not be that hard to find. Bastion of Remembrance, Falcon Wrath Noble, Vindictive Vampire, all these kind of drain your opponent whenever things are dying. Then you have things like Pitiless Plunderer, which gets you some nice things. As far as the rares and whatnot, you have an Inquisition, which is a rare. You have a Thoughtseize, which is a rare. You pair that with things like Duress and what is the other one? The arena-only version. Mind Spike. Just basically Thoughtseize for arena-only because it reveals your non-lands. So, as opposed to Magic or normal paper Magic where you couldn't differentiate between lands and non-lands. This only shows you the non-creature, non-land. And then you have a little bit of mana acceleration with Mind Stone, Arcane Signet, but this deck has a very low curve as it is, so that's not really a big deal. And then you have a bunch of interaction to kill a bunch of creatures, which Arena is quite a bit about removing your opponent or disrupting your opponent's strategy in addition to advancing your own. So it's basically what the Yawgmoth does. It's basically a creature aristocrat style deck that is trying to attrition your opponent out of the game, somewhat like the modern deck if you're anyone familiar with that. But obviously you don't have access to green, so you don't have some of the better tools that deck would have. But still within mono black, you have a lot of things. One of the other cards that plays quite nicely, Liliana Dreadhorde General. It is a mythic card. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. Obviously this plays fantastically with Yawgmoth, drawing you multiple cards whenever you sacrifice a creature, make zombies, forces everybody to sacrifice 2 creatures, and then the -9, which plays well with Yogg's Proliferate, can force your opponent to sacrifice basically all their lands, all their creatures, etc. And then the land base, 39 swamps. That said, let's get into some matches and see how this deck stacks up against fully powered Brawl decks. Alright, match number 1 with the Yawgmoth against Narset. Can't really interact with Narset per se, so I think our goal is terrible creature beatdown and hope to get there. This list is 99 out of 100 cards, an older list from MTGA Zone. Mainly starting with the budget list to kind of give people a jumping off point in the Brawl format. But we tried the Magda combo deck, not on camera, but doing some recording off camera. And Magda just dies too much. I mean, I literally play like 3 matches off camera. They're all entertaining. They're all kind of close. Play like 6 matches on camera. They all get smoked. So, let's see what our opponent does here. Draw a card, lose life. Okay, Shambling Ghast. Specimen. Terrible beatdowns. Go. So I was trying to figure out the point of the Nest of Scarabs, but then again, when you pair it with the Yawgmoth, it's actually pretty broken. Because you're making a 1/1 every time you're putting -1/-1 counters on things. Now, granted, against Narset.combo, you're really not doing a whole heck of a lot, but so far this deck seems to be go ahead and make a treasure token. Pass. Narset's a combo a combo control deck usually. Do you have a counter spell too? It does seem as if they're stuck on interesting choice that chose to do that. prevent them getting the life. Figured you just basically jam Narset until you jam Narset. Feels like they're trying to hold up counterspell for Yawgmoth, but they should just be playing their commander. One of the downsides of Yawg, unfortunately, doesn't play the best of start jamming counter spells. I feel like they have a mana drain in hand they've been chilling on. Pass. Mm-hmm. So that's what they've been trying to set up. Yeah, we're not coming back from that, so. Alright, we're just going to go ahead and scoop. We're not winning from here. Alright, Yawg versus Niv. I do absolutely love how whenever I play a deck that I have some success with off camera, I then play it on cam and then immediately run into, you know, basically a bunch of decks that are, you know, removal decks against a creature-based deck, etc. So. Okay. Yeah, let's go. Sure. What do they have for 1 mana here? We're up to 11. Do they have to shock in to play Nest of Scarabs? Sure. So we play tapped. Let's see what you got. Guess they're possibly counting on the One Ring to staying alive, staying alive, staying alive. That. Hold up, remove 1 pass. Pass again. Okay, bring that back to our hand. Position, go. I don't know if they have tribal fight with their deck is kind of interesting, but I suppose it works. Is that the fight, Domri? Of course it is. much cards in hand. Hero could be the nail in the coffin, unfortunately. Interesting that they took cut down of all cards. That's why. Use it again on life, or draw a card if you do. Alright, I just don't think we're coming back from that, so. Alright, we're up against. If you control tap creatures to get non-land permanent. Yeah, alright, that's an interesting card. This hand's a pretty good balance, I think we'll keep it. Interesting choice. So I think as I'm working on this deck, if I were to want to upgrade it, I would probably focus on the recurring 1-drops that are like 2 power, just to get a little bit more beatdown and playing going on. I think this deck has a pretty decent control playing against other creature decks. It's just other control mid-range decks, like the one we played against, a Kenrith deck that I did not play against on camera. Yeah, just feels like we need a little bit more of a beatdown plan if you were to work on upgrading this deck. Alright, not familiar with this one. Let's see, number of islands, tax by flood counter on target lands, now in addition to its other types, class for each one with a flood counter on it. Okay, this is interesting at least. Could use this to try to clear the way of some counter spells, but I just feel like chicken tonight. No, I just feel like we need the land drop, and I feel like we play Bastion here. Could be wrong, as they're chilling on some type of counter spell. Yeah. They can play their commander. It's a pretty good combo with Bone Shards. This is a kind of funny thing against the Niv matchup, right? So we played in that matchup, we drew a bunch of our deals -1/-1 things, as opposed to our creatures that were resilient with like leaving extra bodies or persists. So it is funny how even your 1-drops can be, different matchups can be really awesome, others can be really kind of mid. Do I even play anything here? I don't think so. Because like the only 2 cards that right now that are relevant are Vindictive Vampire and Yawgmoth. And at some point they've got to tap out to play their commander, so one of the things against mono blue is they're not going to be packing a whole lot of sweepers. you know, even in Commander, you're looking at things like Ether Spouts, some different things like that. You know, Ether Spouts, Cyclonic Rift Overload. This is kind of where you want to be against a control, very much counterspell heavy deck, and they concede. So, alright, final match we're going to be playing with Budget Yawg here. Double Strike, start your engines. Creature you control go +1/+0. For each creature you control with first strike or double strike, seen as Death Touch, creatures you control have first strike. Yeah, sounds fun. So one of the small adjustments I did make to the deck, to the deck, was I did add the Zulaport Cut Through to the deck over, I don't remember, one of the random 1 or 2 drops in the deck. Malakir Rebirth. So, mainly on the off chance of trying to deal with, you know, giving us one more drain effect like Bastion or Blood Artist or Vindictive Vampire. They're in Portal. Sure. Really would love to draw another land next turn. Take 5. Oh, that's a little bit ambitious on their part. Really do need to find a 4th land here. It's not like we're lacking on lands. We have 39 swamps in our deck, even with cutting the Malakir Rebirth. So. Okay. We're at 41% to draw. These boots were made for walking. That's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. Dum, 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 dum. Okay, 1 drop. 1 drop. Okay. once again, makes not a whole lot of sense of attacking with the deal with that. So we have a 1-2, a 2-1, and a 2-3. All right. All right. So okay. Sure. Don't really think there's any way to come back from this now. Pretty sure they just replay the commander and kill us. We missed a 4th land drop for too long with Yawgmoth. Yeah, it's just too much damage to overcome. Alright, here with a quick wrap. So, deck performed alright. I think we ended up going 2 and 3 with kind of, you know, stuttering on lands there a little bit, or stumbling on lands a little bit there at the end on match number 5. This deck is pretty good for a budget deck. You know, obviously I think we might take a look at upgrading this deck either, you know, a few cards at a time, or just kind of showing what an upgraded version of Yawgmoth looks like, seeing if we can't find something that is, you know, much more high powered with rares, mythics, all that nonsense. You guys want to let me know down in the comments if you'd prefer to, you know, me slowly upgrade a budget deck like this over time into its ultimate form, or if you just want to see, you know, like the budgetary version and then, you know, like an example of a fully powered Yawgmoth deck down the line. So, as always, if you do like MTGA content, especially of the Brawl variety, don't forget to give us a subscribe, and hope to see you for our next video.